It's a wonderful day for pie. And also talking about video games, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always a
buddy.
great day, whether we're on Wednesday or Thursday or Monday or you name it.
Yes.
It is great.
I guess I should clarify that up front. Normally we do this on Wednesdays, but I had
Yeah.
to ask for a rain check because we were in crunch trying to finish the Alan Wake 2 review, and we were desperately hoping we could fix some of the problems that we'll discuss here in just a little bit. We weren't able to do that, but again, we'll dig into all of that
Spoiler.
in due course. Yeah, spoiler alert. Thank you everybody for joining us live in chat. If you are listening to us afterwards on your favorite podcasting platform or just in the YouTube VOD, thank you for hanging out with us as well. We appreciate you regardless. But special thanks to those who are hanging out with us live. We will try to keep an eye on your messages and questions as we go. And Dum Dum, thank you for re-upping your membership as well. Luke and Joe Raptor, can you give the chat a scrumptious kiss? Yes, I can. There you go. Just for you. How are you, Mr. Joe Raptor?
Doing well. I'm kind of like, of course, Spider-Man came out a week ago, and lots to talk about still. So we're doing some Easter egg videos and stuff like that. So busy with that. And then this weekend we got Halloween coming up, and I actually got like a party tomorrow. And then the day after that, a surprise party for a friend, and I hope that friend's not watching, but I don't think he is. But yeah, so that will be fun. Last year I was as Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. Very
That's
easy.
amazing.
Yeah, the yellow training suit, and then just a katana, blonde hair, and that was cool. And this year I thought, let's just like do something that a lot of people have already done, but I still have not done yet, and that's just a Squid Game soldier. Super easy,
Yeah.
with the mask. I like it. I love Squid Game, so it kind of feels weird to do that in 2023. But on the other hand, no, I don't think anyone else will be doing it, so I'll
Yeah,
probably be
they
the
say
only
it's
one.
built in. Yeah.
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 So how about you? I
I
see that. I mean, if I think some people were not like keeping up that you were moving, I don't think a lot of people would notice it because you have almost the same sort of like background, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah,
well done.
we probably are rearranging some stuff. I have some more furniture coming, but it's all back ordered, so who knows when it'll come. But yeah, we moved just like, let's see, we closed on the 10th. So we've only been here a little over 2 weeks now. Only actually living in the space for like a week and a half. And it's crazy that we are settling in as well as we are, but yeah, it is pretty much the same kind of arrangement. So some people are
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
is it a new studio or did you just flip
Yeah, yeah.
around? You know, it's funny.
Did you move to a new room in your old house?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's it's tough to tell, but the room is significantly bigger. But I think because of the camera angles and everything, it ends up just kind of looking like I copy and paste it over to to a new room. But you know, it's a good spot. As for other stuff, yeah, I mean, we've had Spider-Man, we had Alan Wake, or we will, I guess, have Alan Wake because I believe, does it launch today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Or
officially.
actually, like today in Australia, like when it is like the 27th.
Oh, when it hits midnight, it's one of those rolling. Okay.
Yeah.
So got that. We're going to talk lots about Alan Wake 2 here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about Spider-Man. We're going to talk about a handful of things. There was just a big shakeup within Xbox. They're moving some executives around. And there's also a Ubisoft game that has been delayed until next fiscal year. So lots to talk
and
about.
then it might like collide with another Ubisoft game that got the banner leak.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did. I didn't realize that was a leak. Somebody sent me that, and it was like before I saw any articles on it or anything. And I saw it, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it looks like a banner. I don't know what you want me to do with this info." But then everybody started losing their minds. But yeah, lots to address. So I guess we can just kind of get into it. I guess just to start, the elephant in the room. Alan Wake 2.
the final big sort of single player game of the year. Of course, we got Avatar as well, if that's still gonna come out. And the Call of Duty. Those are like the only like big AAA titles. But yeah, Call of Duty is Call of Duty.
Yeah,
So
it's had a lot of people really excited for it. It's, if you're not familiar, back in 2010 there was a game called Alan Wake, and it initially, like, it was reviewed well, but like a B plus, you know, high 80s mostly. But it's really developed a cult following in the last 5-6 years, and people swear by it. And this is the long-awaited sequel. It's done by the same guys that did that game, Quantum Break, Control. So they're known for really trippy narratives and crazy visuals and stuff, and they deliver on that here. However,
I loved Quantum Break, by the way.
You
I just want
did?
to say that. Yeah, it's like one of those games where I just like, it was one of the first Xbox One exclusives. It's kind of crazy how the Xbox One generation started with more exclusive than the Series generation, while they have way more studios going into the Series generation. But like, I thought it was kind of weird though to like be sitting down for like a TV show in between gameplay moments for like 30 minutes or something. I think, and you will probably talk about that in Alan Wake, it's way better organized. But I finished that game in like 2 sittings at
wow.
Quantum Break, and I had a great time. Yeah, I loved it.
It seems very polarizing. People either love Quantum Break or they absolutely hate it. Because like you said, I mean, there's just, like, you think Death Stranding is bad with long cutscenes that never end? Try Quantum Break. Like, it's something else, dude.
And then it was like a TV show, so you were like looking at real life versions of the characters that it was really weird.
Yeah,
but,
and they do that same thing here in Alan Wake 2. There are a lot of real time or live action sequences, a lot of them. So you'll have moments where you're playing the game and then it cuts to just an actual like scene that they filmed in a studio, and then it transitions back to gameplay. It can be a little jarring if people are not, I guess, expecting it, but you know, I think it generally works pretty well. My frustrations with the game, though, are kind of, there's a few elements. For one, just to be upfront, my review that went up today was a work in progress review, and that was not by my choice. I ran into what's known as a hard lock, which, as opposed to a soft lock, basically just means there's nothing you can do. You are just stuck and can't progress. A soft lock, you can like reboot the game or reload a save and then you can progress. But with a hard lock, you're just screwed until it's patched or fixed in some way or another. And apparently, because I haven't seen the end of the game yet, I don't know exactly how far away from the end of the game I am, but I've been going back and forth with my contacts over at Remedy/Epic, and they say I'm very, very close, but there's just like there's nothing that we can do. Apparently
this was on PlayStation 5, right?
Yes. Yeah, this was on PlayStation 5. They did send me a PC code originally, but it wouldn't boot. Every time I try to launch the game, it would spit out menu initialization, verification failed, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I tried Googling the error code, nothing. It took them a couple days, and one of their engineers ended up coming back and being like, oh, do you have MSI Afterburner installed? I was like, yeah, I use that to track like frame rates and stuff in games. And he's like, yeah, sometimes when people have that installed, it just won't launch. So I like ended all processes in the task manager for MSI Afterburner, and the game runs fine. So I guess word of warning, if you're going to play it on PC, watch out for that. Because little things like that apparently can monitor performance of games causes it just to not launch, which is crazy.
It's also interesting that right now the embargo has lifted and the game is out in certain regions. I think not on PC because that locks, I think, on at the same time as everywhere else. I think it's only on Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah.
But there are no streams of it yet. Like, that is weird because usually when the game is like officially out in one of the regions, people can stream. But right now there are no streams.
I believe the info I was given for embargoes on streams was like midnight Eastern tonight.
But when the game is already out, right?
Yeah. So the game will have been out for some people for like 8, 9, 10 hours. You know, it would have been
Yeah,
out for a
which
while.
is still not very we don't see that often,
Yeah.
but I hope, yeah. That was already kind of a red flag for me. We're like, okay, why are you doing that? But
I kind of prefer it when they just have like, okay, 3 a.m. Eastern on this date for everybody in the world. It unlocks like that. I kind of prefer that than this like rolling release where, oh, if you're in Australia, you play 12 hours before these people over here, like, and then you end up
but
with
on
spoilers
console, it's
leaking.
always like that. On console, it's always like just midnight. On PC, they do that switch on for everyone at the same time. I think it's also for like local stores, so then the local store has to keep it or something.
Yeah.
That would be weird. So
Either way, it's weird. It's weird.
yeah, but what about the game? Because you like, I don't want to like spoil too much. Of course, like people go watch the video you put up as well. But I'm like curious about it as like a Remedy fan as well, because I do see a lot of people online saying this the best work. But it does seem that maybe they rushed it out to get around like a Halloween to have it out in that spooky window.
It really is good. Like there's, again, I would love to show like this particular clip, like 4.5, 5 hours in. There's something that happens where I had no idea this was coming, and I don't think anybody does. But when it happened, like I could not stop smiling. It was so crazy and outrageous. It was awesome. And there's a handful of moments like that where it's just, oh my God, that was sick. You know, there's a lot of moments like that. And that's why I think like the game is pretty good. It does feel like there was like that last pass of polish where they just go through and make sure that everything is triggering properly. There's a couple moments, a handful of moments where things didn't trigger properly. I show in the review one moment in the first 20 minutes of the game where they're trying to do the tutorial to show you, okay, to go to the mine place, hold down the right side of the touchpad on the PS5 controller. But it didn't trigger properly for me. So on that save, I didn't have the ability to use the touchpad at all. And there's no way to pull up the mine place or to pull up your map at that point because the buttons just didn't work. So I was just, in that case, I was also hard locked. I couldn't progress because the story required you to go to the mine place to trigger the next line of dialogue. So I had to start a new save over just 20 minutes into the game to get it to trigger properly.
Yeah, that sucks.
So little frustrations like that, and what really compounds the frustration is that because of the way that this type of survival horror game tends to work, often things are really vague and you're not sure exactly where to go and you're trying to figure it out. And in this case, like sometimes you don't know if that's what's going on, if you need to be more observant, or if you have run into a hard lock and something's broken. It's really, really frustrating. There were at least, I think in total, 4 or 5 times. There was that first instance, and then there were at least 3 other occasions where I ran into stuff like that, where I thought I was just missing something, and it turned out the game had bugged, and I needed to reload a save to get it working properly. It is technically game breaking. I think you can still enjoy the game on the whole, despite those issues, but it was very, very jarring and frustrating.
Yeah, but I haven't seen like a lot of people talk about that, which I think is interesting. So I don't know.
Well, and
yeah,
this
is
is
like you were really unlucky, or maybe a lot of people, when more people play the game, will experience
I
it as
honestly,
well,
I'm not sure.
weird.
It does feel like, I think every big release, there's a few reviewers who kind of seem to attract all the bugs and glitches from everybody else, and so they just have a rough time. The fact that it started with the PC issues, which, to be fair, once I got the correction on disabling Afterburner and everything, as far as I can tell, the PC port runs really well, and it looks stupid good. Like this thing up with Phantom Liberty, they're both just shockingly beautiful. But on the console side of things, it was bizarre. It was frustrating. And like I said, I don't know if this was just that I was particularly unlucky. I also ran into issues within Spider-Man that other people didn't seem to run into. So maybe I just have the magic touch, or maybe I just like notice and take note of these things more. I don't know. But setting all of that aside,
there is still, yeah. I was like, yeah.
So
what
like,
did you like? You still went on. You still continued.
Yeah, I still went on, played as much of it as I possibly could, and I do want to say that just to put a pin in that last little bit, there are apparently a number of patches coming day one. There's a big update scheduled for about a week after launch that's going to fix a bunch of weird little issues on PC specifically. And somebody just commented, I haven't been able to verify it, but somebody did comment on Twitter that this apparently the hard lock I ran into, another reviewer they watched had the same thing happen, and they said it was fixed, but only on new saves. I don't know if that's the case. I don't really love the idea of having to start over again to find out on PS5. I'll just play it on PC again. But it seems like that's been remedied. See what I did there? But as for the game itself, when it's working, I think it is a visual feast to behold. I think narratively, it is just as trippy and probably more wacky than the original. I think it's I know it's being like pitched as survival horror, and people throw out the term horror with it a lot. I didn't really find it scary whatsoever. It's definitely like a survival thriller, more like, because there are some epic sequences and some crazy stuff that happens, but I didn't think, like, there were one or two jump scares that might have gotten me where it's just like something flashes and that's it. But it's definitely more of a thriller, and I think that suits it way better.
I'm happy about that, by the way, because I'm not a huge horror fan, but I do like these types of games. So, or like this, because I'm like a fan of Remedy, I want to still play this. So that makes me happy. And it's more like detective as well. Of course, I'm really curious in particular about the two sides, and how they kind of marketed it before release was that you could like choose, do you want to go play Alan's part first? Do you want to go play Saga's part first, or do you switch between them? Did you feel that really had an impact?
Honestly, when you're in, say, Alan's part, you're kind of like in it. You're doing the thing. You want to see his story as far as you can before you reach that end point before the two stories kind of converge. So what I did is, like, I was playing as Saga, then you switch to Alan, and back and forth, and then they give you the option to freely switch between them. I switched to Alan, and I kind of just did all of Alan's stuff. Okay. And it wasn't even like a conscious thing. It was just that I was liking Alan's story and I was in it. So I wanted to focus on that. And before I knew it, like 6, 7, 8 hours of gameplay had passed. And, then I transitioned over to Saga. And as for how they differ, it was actually surprising how different they play. Like, Alan has a totally different means of exploring environments and altering reality and progressing through chapter to chapter than Saga. I personally prefer Saga's missions a lot more. Maybe it's just because they're set in the real world and it's more conversational. It's, again, more detective focused, whereas Alan's parts are just like an acid trip for an extended period of time where you alter realities and the whole world around you changes, like we've seen in the preview events. And, they're just very different, which surprised me. I was kind of braced for them to play very similarly, just with a different coat of paint, but they really play very differently. Cool. Touching on the detective element, though, because that's kind of a fresh inclusion here. It surprised me that they pitched it as a detective type system with the mind place. You guys have seen probably the videos of the big wall with the yellow cards on it with the clues, or with the questions, what's the cult trying to achieve, ? And then you have a bunch of white cards basically that are gained by talking to people, inspecting things in the world, and then you put those up on the board, and that creates new connections that filter through and allow you to progress. But there is no way to do it improperly or incorrectly. So there is no placing a card in the wrong spot. There's no making a wrong conclusion or going down a path that wasn't effective.
It's not Detroit.
Yeah, it's not at all Detroit. It's very, very linear. And often it can feel like you're just kind of going through the motions, where you're not actually making the connections in the case the way I thought you would. You're just kind of going through the steps of taking the card, looking at it. Okay, this says this character says the cult does this for this reason. So look at the yellow cards. Why is the cult doing this? Oh, it probably goes there. And then it goes there. A little piece of yarn goes to it. and that's that. And then you might hear Saga like describe it in some detail again.
And can you like trial and error it as well? So you can like put it everywhere and then eventually, oh, this is the only spot that's left.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you'll start to see that, especially as like, you know, by the time you get to say hour 10, you've done this a lot. I mean, hundreds of these white cards getting tossed up on that board. Because again, like the way that it's used is that you can't move on in the story until Saga has kind of reached a certain conclusion in her mind by organizing these clues. And so you might think that you've reached like a soft lock or that you can't progress because dialogue options aren't queuing. But in reality, it's just because that one card that you didn't realize you had, because you'll also have a stack of like 10 different case files by hour 10 probably. And so you have to sift through those and figure and see, okay, well, this one I have new clues in, so I have to apply those to the board. And then because you put one card up on the board that you didn't realize you had, now the dialogue option triggers that allows you to move to the next area to progress and progress. And so
I've played Phoenix Wright, so I'm ready for this.
You're buckled up and ready.
Ace Attorney stuff.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I was really excited for it because it seemed like, oh, detective system, like we're solving this mystery with the trippy Alan Wake stuff. I'm interested, but the more you play it, at least for me, the more tedious it became. It really was not actually that satisfying or interesting because in order, like I said, to find those clues, you're talking to people and investigating things. And then you go to the mind place and put those up on the board and hear Saga describe them all over again to you like you're 5 years old and stupid. And then the conclusion appears and you're like, yeah, I figured that out. Like, you know, it's like when you're watching a movie, like a murder mystery movie, and you figured out who did it 10 minutes in, and then the big reveal of who did it happens, and they act like you're supposed to be shocked, and you're like, I've known for a while, like I've been paying attention. So that was a little frustrating, but like the core of this game is not in the gameplay. It's more about the narrative. It's more about the story and the presentation, the cinematic styling of it. If you're gonna play this expecting something like really intense and gritty, if you're looking for Detroit Become Human, if you're looking for Sherlock Holmes, whatever, you're gonna be disappointed. What they have here is a very cinematic blockbuster narrative game that is crazy trippy but very, very well presented. And so long as the systems themselves work, you can kind of get through the gameplay and then get to the narrative parts. And that's how I would frame it. It's not playing the gameplay and then enjoying that and then kind of tolerating the story. It's the opposite, where you tolerate the gameplay to get to the next story beat that's gonna motivate you to keep going.
Because you had like the hard lock when you were like close to being done. At what hour were you? Like, how long is the game?
It really depends on a couple of factors. For one, like if you're playing on the like the hardest difficulty that they have, you will be struggle bussing like hardcore. I did some testing with it and like Jesus. And also like exploring of separate passageways and things like that. The developers initially quoted 20 hours is what they expected you. I ran into the hard lock initially probably around like 15 and a half to 16 and a half hours in. And they, at least what I was told is that if I kept going, I'd be like 45-ish minutes from the end. I haven't seen the end. I don't know if that's the case or if I would have gotten distracted with something else towards the end. I do know that there was I believe there was a prompt telling me that this was like the last kind of the point of no return before move on. So I believe we had hit that, but yeah, it's going to be very varied for a lot of people. I could totally see some people going and exploring whole different areas of like the nursing home area, or you go down to there's an area that changes after a few hours of the story that opens up so you can explore it again. And I could see people going back and spending another hour exploring that and reading notes and stuff.
Yeah, so 20 hours seems, if you really want to get everything out of it.
Yeah, I think like it's not one of those games you're going to play for 20 hours, then have another 20 on top of it to like finish it up. It's like, I mean, they 20.
Yeah, they did announce New Game Plus though, so maybe later on.
Yep, New Game Plus. They have have plans for expansions and DLC. They have a lot of stuff in the works, and
Cool.
I mean, it seems like if you're a fan of Alan Wake, the original game or the remaster that they did, you're gonna enjoy this. It's still clunky. The gameplay's still weird and kind of stiff. The level design and enemy encounter design to me felt very outdated, especially coming off of Control, where they seem to learn a lot about encounter design and level design. This time around, it's like very small encounter areas and then just the same enemies 1,000 times. Even the bosses work almost identically to each other. So, I mean, that's a point where I'll just disagree with other reviewers. I found most of the gameplay elements, except for the cool gimmicky stuff like Alan Wake being able to change realities to alter levels, which was cool initially. I just generally found the gameplay to be kind of a bit much more lackluster than the story. The story, very compelling. The gameplay, if that was all that was here, I would have fallen asleep.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna play it as well, and we might have like a follow-up discussion. I think it might be interesting to hear.
Yeah, Joe Raptor comes back. You're crazy, man.
What the heck, dude? Game of the year. I mean, that is what people are saying. It's like a 90 on OpenCritic, I think, or Metacritic. We got like a Fantasy Files podcast with a donation there.
Thank you.
Hey Jordan, love the varsity jacket. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
It's been getting cold here, so been wearing the jackets again. Dum Dum is asking if you get spooked at all. You already kind of touched on it briefly, but it's like not really a horror game, right?
Yeah, I would classify this as like a suspense thriller or like a survival thriller. There are some like quick and easy jump scares in the first couple of hours, and then they kind of move on past that. I mean, if you're the type to get like really spooked because there's like a dead body and blood, then I guess it's a horror game. But maybe I'm just desensitized to it. I would not say it's a horror game though.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's speaking to me. And 53 Nights asking if the game is still digital only, and I think it is, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So.
And only Epic Game Store on a PC.
Only Epic Game Store on PC.
I'm curious like to see how this game is gonna do, because it's like launching in the tail end of a very crazy October. I mean, there was a lot of good buzz, but I do feel it's kind of in that like very hardcore gaming bubble. And I also think that even for those people, there have been like way too many options. With Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2, Lords of the Fallen, Mirage, the Sonic game, like a lot of stuff has come out. So
yeah, it's been a great year, and this, like I said, is still it's a very good game. I'm of course very frustrated that I've run into these issues. You know, we had one guy that I recognize because he's gone from Twitter to YouTube to this channel and everywhere, and he thinks that somehow I'm making up that we ran into a hard lock. What do I get out of saying that? Like, I would like to finish the game. I have early access to the game. Like, why would I not want to finish the game?
But Luke, now you can make a second review and double your
review.
views.
Oh man, yeah, that would totally work. It's
double dip.
It's just so insane to me, but you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, these things happen. These types of bugs, you run into them. Sometimes they're on the part of, you know, they're because of something with like the console, where just my console for whatever reason is more prone to it, or maybe it's because of some patch that happened that caused things to get screwed up. Who knows? But I'm not gonna like pretend as though these issues don't exist to make sure that fanboys are, you know, have their feelings protected. If we run into these problems, we'll report them, and I'll tell you if I think they're severe or will be fixed.
And I've heard about, like, because I actually sent you a message on Discord before I knew any of this, that I heard from some people that were playing the game as well. Like, I haven't touched it yet. I'm still like doing Spider-Man stuff, and we'll just take my time this weekend probably to play it on PS5. But I also heard from like people that were doing the review that they would run into like a lot of PC issues. So I'm curious what the discussion will be when that version unlocks, because again, it still has not unlocked. at
Yeah.
the time of this recording.
I think there's already been a lot of debate over whether the like system requirements are too much. And this was something I found kind of just frankly stupid. People were like, oh my God, my 8-year-old or 9-year-old graphics card isn't going to run this game on high settings or medium settings. It can struggle bus it on low. And like, frankly, this is one of the most graphically intensive and gorgeous games in recent memory. I mean, it really is insane. Maybe I could just pull up a little bit of our PC footage we captured. No spoilers, of course. This is all approved from Remedy, so this is all stuff that they've said is good to go. But I mean, the thing is just, of course, I have the wrong thing enabled. But all told, like the game.
Thanks, Lewis Robinson. Just got out of work. Love this podcast. Keep up the good work. Thanks for joining.
Yes, much love.
Relax.
Much love. I mean, it's just the game is graphically crazy, but even on a 4090 cranked to the gills, this thing runs at mostly like 70-ish frames most of the time. I mean, it looks insane, and this is with frame generation on as well. So everything cranked to the max, DLSS 3.5 ray reconstruction, and frame generation, it's still at 71 frames a second.
Cool.
So it's extremely demanding, but that's because when you crank it, it also looks like it should. It'd be a problem if it was like 8-bit and you had to crank it, got terrible performance. But in this case, like, yeah, it's demanding, but it's because it looks insane. So at some point, your hardware will be outdated. And I think it's kind of silly to complain about like minimum specs increasing over time.
Yeah, and it's also next gen only. Like, it's not on the older consoles. So makes sense that we finally are moving in that direction. I'm curious, is like a performance mode on PlayStation?
Yeah.
Xbox Series.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
the
So,
Series S does not have a performance mode.
Okay.
It renders at 1440p. They sent me the whole slide. It renders at like 1440p, 30 FPS, no performance mode. Series X or Series X and PS5, they have the performance and quality modes.
Okay.
And I mean, the quality mode looks pretty good. I think most people are probably going to go with performance though. Just because that extra 60 is just ooh.
And I would imagine that the live action stuff is like 30 anyways, right? And maybe some of the cutscenes.
Yeah. I think every cutscene I saw, a live action sequence was 30.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm not sure if there are like other like questions. We got a Shadow in the chat as well. Hello, Luke and Jor. Hello, thanks for joining.
Hello.
It hurts hearing the truth. I was so excited for the game. I mean, like, to play devil's advocate, there are still like from all the reviews, they have been very glowing.
Yeah. And like I said, I still really like the game. It seems like I am definitely, thankfully, the outlier, and most reviewers have not had the issues I've had. So when I put the review together, I'm not able to talk to other reviewers, so I don't know what they've experienced. I can only kind of make my recommendations.
And that should not like change your view. Like, if you, even if you hear like only good things from other people, you should still, of course, as you always do,
like
say what your experience was.
My experience was what I've described so far, and it might be the same experience you have, or you might play it and be like, I've had no issues at all. This is amazing, and I love it dearly. It's just all we can do is report our experience. So don't let my frustrations necessarily dissuade you. The game is still, in the high 80s, low 90s, depending on who you ask. And I think if you're interested in Alan Wake and you like these kinds of games, it's definitely worth a look. And I would encourage you, to really consider it. If you've never played an Alan Wake game before, either the original or the remaster, I definitely think you need to do some story recaps and stuff. But
and if you're on PC, I would wait at least like one day after the version unlocks, because then we might have like more info on how that runs on like a wide range of machines. Okay. I wanted to like touch base on Spider-Man 2 as well real quick. We of course talked about it last week when I was mostly talking about it because I finished it back then and you just started. But I also saw you put up some videos about it. So, what did you think overall for people? Like, I know who missed those videos and of course are listening to the podcast, because last week I kind of talked about my feelings and how I think it's like a really, really good game. But that I do think that, yeah, they played it a bit safe, and that there were some story things, especially near the end, that I did not really like. And I do feel that maybe the length is not really the problem, but of course, like at 25 hours you can get the platinum, or 15 hours to beat the story. I actually thought a bit more about it, and I also said it on Twitter, and I thought this is actually like a nice way of looking at it for me. But what if, for example, in God of War Ragnarok, the Berserker King, so like the final boss of that quest line, was like DLC? That is kind of what in Spider-Man 2 some of the side stories feel like, where they were like kind of holding back an encounter that they were kind of promising you.
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't know when it's going to happen. It could be next year, it could be 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
But still, I think I see a lot of people enjoying it, and rightfully so. But I do think if we are like 1 month, maybe removed from it, we will maybe have a more like less like honeymoon phase look at it, and see some of the things that we maybe would have hoped this game would bring.
Yeah, I mean, I've played it, I've messed around with it. I put out a little review, putting out my perspective on it that upset some people. It's been a fun week, I'll tell you what. But
really?
Just in general, I think the game is, again, really good. I think it definitely played it safe. The combat, I know people kept saying that by the end it gets really different. It really doesn't, though. It really doesn't. And part of it is, I think, because Miles Morales was a half step, if that, above Spider-Man on PS4, and then this feels like a half step above that. So it's just not that exciting. It feels like a small iteration. They do some like big crazy set pieces and some cool different things towards the end of the story to avoid spoilers, but everything still ends up playing the same way, even though it looks different. Even down to how certain enemies behave, jumping up into certain areas and using ranged attacks. It's identical to how other archetypes of enemies do it. They just look different.
There are different factions, but they all have the same archetypes. So
yeah.
You're
They
still
all play
fighting
the
the same enemy, but they kind of look different, and maybe have like one different ability or something.
Yeah. And they do add in some weaknesses. So certain of these new enemies are weak to different types of attacks or abilities or gadgets that you might have, which is an interesting shakeup. But at the end of the day, they still feel like you're just fighting reskins of the same enemies. I know people were saying, yeah, enemy variety is improved, and it is improved over Miles Morales in the last game, but over the course of the whatever it is, like 15, 20, 25 hours that you spend with the game, it's going to get old once again. And to me, the biggest frustration of all is that everybody told Insomniac the biggest problem with Spider-Man on PS4 was the lackluster open world elements and the collectathons and all that stuff. And they just doubled down on it here. Like they just did the same thing, even like more of it in certain instances. And it's just frustrating to me, because it's like, that was the one thing I was hoping they could figure out how to improve. Like that.
And you mean the spider bots instead of like the backpacks?
Yeah, like they have spider bots instead of backpacks. They have like the picture or the photo op things where you can take pictures of people playing basketball or lining up in front of a hot dog stand. Like, oh wow, that's compelling. Like it was just frustrating.
I like that, actually. I was like, sure. Like I had never been to New York. I'm like, I did like, I think of course, it's like I'm more like looking at what the activity is that they presented. I think for what you can do with a photo ops, it's like a way more fun iteration than the one in the previous game where we were just like taking pictures of statues.
Yeah, like a landmark. Yeah,
and that was like kind of okay. And that you would have like the call afterwards in Spider-Man 2 helped as well. But I get that maybe they should have not just done that and thought of something cooler or whatever. I get that.
Yeah, or they keep the backpacks, they keep the bugs, they keep all the photo ops, all that stuff. I'm just asking for, like, you're setting the game in one of the most fascinating and interesting cities in the world, and they can't come up with more interesting things to do than to stop random little like combat encounters or to take pictures of stuff. Like that's all they can think of. It was just frustrating to me, because once the credits rolled, I was just kind of like, Okay, well, like I can go keep
Man,
grinding some stuff out, but it wasn't.
did you do the friendly neighborhood missions, like the blue icons with like a Spider-Man hat?
I don't think I completed
Because
all of
they are
them.
very varied. They're a lot of fun. They're a lot
I
of
mean,
fun.
I do think that some like I can never remember the name of his uncle, Miles's uncle.
The
What is-
Prowler stashes.
Prowler stashes. Some
Uncle
of
Aaron.
the stuff that they did with, I mean, honestly, towards the end of the game, again, I would love to just be specific. Some of the stuff they did towards the end of the game with some of the dynamic new things that pop up that you have to clear out, I thought were cool, kind of inversions of the formula that we had just done over and over again. And I think that that's a good way of doing it. Like if you get kind of sick of the formula as you like explore the city for the first half of the game, in the last half of the game it does actually change and things get shaken up, so it's not just the same thing all the way through. But just in general, it felt like a very safe shifting of the open world stuff, where it was, like you said, better than the last game. It's like, oh, instead of just landmarks, now it's actual events with a human element, stories to be told. There are some stories, like there's one where you're speaking to somebody about loss. Let's just like say that if you've not
side missions, that's what I was like referring to. Like they're very varied. I love those.
Yeah, like if you haven't run into that, I won't spoil it, but there's some really good things that you can just stumble into, but they were more few and far between than I thought they would have been. But I mean, the game is still great. The game is still really good as far as I can tell. It's just more Spider-Man. It's not like Ragnarok, where every time I thought I had seen everything, they were like, okay, and you know how you thought in the back of your head 3 years ago maybe they could do something like this? Well, we did that and we doubled it, flipped it around, and gave it to the next person. Like they just kept blowing your mind with the craziness that was ensuing. And in Spider-Man, it's just like, yep, so okay, yep, had a feeling this would happen. Okay. Oh, five more waves of enemies, you know.
It's like, it's not. It's totally fair to compare this to like, because it's such an interesting like point where we're at with all these series that kind of started in the PS4 generation that are now getting a sequel, and they're all back to back. Like we will have Ghost 2 as well to compare.
I'm ready for that, boy. I'll tell you what.
And to be fair, like of the sequels, I do feel, and like I think you made a good point with, I think Miles Morales might have like hindered it a bit. Like imagine going from 2018 to this one. That would have been insane.
Crazy. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important thing to bring up, is just that if you compare 2018 to this, night and day. But because we have that skipping or stepping stone, it's a lot less exciting. The game is significantly better than the predecessor, but it feels much less exciting and compelling just because we saw like this halfway between. And I mean, maybe that's not actually that big of a problem. I mean, we got more stuff to play. We got this kind of standalone release in the middle of these two games, and so we got more to play that was also really good. And it probably doesn't bug Sony to make a little bit of extra money on that Miles Morales release, but it's less exciting.
No, it was a launch game. Like it helped them. Like they would do that in a heartbeat again. Like have that out. But I feel for me, it's also like, and thinking of it now, this is the only PlayStation 5 like Sony exclusive that we actually got this year. And if you then look at the package and the 25 hours for, I would have wanted a bit more from that in general, because sure, there have been a lot of other games, but yeah, if you're just looking at the exclusives and the amount of studios that they now have, and we're only getting Spider-Man 2 this year, it's kind of not a lot. Finish in a weekend.
Yeah,
but it was cool.
Yeah.
When is Ghost 2 coming out? I wish we knew, but
we're
probably 2025.
Yeah, we are eagerly awaiting it, my friend. I'll tell you what. Is Dave the Diver worth it on Switch? I don't know on Switch, but I do like me some Dave the Diver. I played it on my Steam Deck over the summer. Oh, yeah, that's a good time. Weird, okay, cool. but a good time. Pretty quirky. You guys think that modern PCs can run Squadron 42? Depends on how much money you put into it. Have you seen that Squadron 42 stuff, Mr. Joe Raptor?
No.
No, they just announced a bunch of new information at CitizenCon. It's the Star Citizen
Wow. Oh,
story,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's feature complete. They're in the polish phase and everything. They
Citizen.
showed like all the cutscenes with Gary Oldman and Mark Hamill. I can never remember the name of the other guy, the guy with the dark hair. That was, I don't know, somebody in chat will remind me. But they have like a pretty killer lineup of actors. Apparently their
Okay.
budget for voice actors alone was $50 million.
Oh my god.
That's like a quarter of
Like, I see
Spider-Man 2.
someone here, yeah, and Kasuma is saying, like, have you two played Lords of the Fallen? Cool game. Like, we learned that Lords of the Fallen had a budget of 66 million.
Yeah.
And that is for the voice actors alone.
And they
50,
spent
yeah.
that on Mark Hamill and some of these
Yeah.
other guys. It's crazy.
I haven't
But,
played it, by the way, Lords of the Fallen.
yeah, I haven't played. I got scared off by the technical issues. So I don't know. I'll probably jump in the spring or something. Yeah, and they have Gillian Anderson as well. It's all told, it's just, I mean, it's crazy. Squadron 42 and the stuff they're doing. If you've not seen the Star Engine demo, I highly, highly encourage you to do so.
These names, man. Citizen Con.
Citizen Con, Star Engine. The Star Engine shows stuff that they're able to do in real time. It's kind of funny because they do just straight up throw some mad jabs at at Starfield. It's like, it's pretty hardcore.
Oh, really?
But it's just because they're showing like all of this stuff is running in real time. None of this is pre-rendered or anything. This is just running natively. I'm trying to see if I can find a little snippet of it. And it's utter madness. I can put it on screen here. But I mean, they transition from planet surfaces into caves, down the caves, back out the caves, and then spanning all the way across entire globes, showing forests and dynamic encounters and animals and all sorts of stuff without skipping a beat in real time. And then, you know, after this, they pull out and they transition out of the planet and jump to another planet. Like, it's just crazy how this engine works. And I think this is a great thing for people to watch if they want to understand why Star Citizen fans were really, really underwhelmed by Starfield. This will explain it to you, because a lot of the stuff they have here is already working in the game today, like the seamless transitions, the crazy scale and scope of it. And they're only bringing more stuff in Q1 of 2024. It's wild. If you have not taken 25 minutes to watch the Star Engine demo, I will tell you what, it will blow your freaking mind.
Go to citizencon.com.
Go get your tickets today. Buy an $800 ship for a game that's not out yet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it'll blow your socks off, I'll tell you what. Anyway, that's a whole other animal.
Yeah, nice segue though. I never like hear about Star Citizen from anyone, so I'm always curious to kind of dip my feet into that. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Faran is asking, are we even getting any PlayStation exclusives next year? I mean, we know of course about Helldivers 2, that is Sony published, and we will have the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth game, but that's of course also not made by Sony. They will likely launch Death Stranding 2. But that's probably it. Like, I don't think Wolverine will launch. And maybe the Rise of the Ronin. Remember that one?
Rise of the Ronin, yeah. There, I mean, it also, so we know that Kojima has like a pretty good relationship with Apple right now, and that they're getting buddy. And apparently a lot of the leaks are coming out. In case you missed it, there's an announcement where on the 30th of this month, Apple is hosting an event where they're showing a lot of Mac stuff off. And apparently the leaks are saying a huge focus of that event is going to be on gaming on Apple Silicon. And so we very well could see a big push for Apple to start getting in on these exclusives. And if they're buddy with Kojima, I don't know if they're going to try to get like Death Stranding 2 on Apple Silicon day one as well, by some exclusivity there. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility, which is insane to think of, that Apple could be getting in on this. But
yeah, I mean, we saw that with the iPhone presentation, of course, earlier this year as well, with Resident Evil 8 and 4 remake running on that, and Mirage, Assassin's Creed Mirage as well.
Mm-hmm. It's the only reason
yeah,
I got that new iPhone is so that we could do videos on that when those come out.
Yeah, sure, that's the only reason.
Dude, it's so stupid.
That's what you tell yourself.
It's so dumb that like
I had to. Yeah, I have to make a video on it.
Babe, it's for work.
Yeah. But you have the USB-C now, right?
I do. That is nice. Being able to swap chargers between phones is like pretty trippy. It still feels
an invention.
weird.
We're in the future.
I like how they framed it like they were doing us all a favor. And they're like, you're welcome. USB-C. We're innovators.
Yeah.
Like, we know you were forced to do this by the EU. You're not fooling anyone. Rackable, real quick, I guess we should mention this. So today marks a momentous day, the 26th of October. Does anyone know what the significance of this day is? No? I'll tell you. This is the day that GTA 6 leakers have been saying the game would be announced on for like a year. And they've said, this is the day. This is the day. Apparently most of the rumors started with a faked like AI voice clone copy whatever thing that was faked, pretending that the game was going to be announced on this date. But people have been losing their minds suggesting that GTA 6 will launch today or will be announced today. And it's 2 p.m. where I'm at. And
no, it's not going to happen.
So I don't think it's happening, boys. I'll tell you what. No.
But I will say, because like I do think like actually every day that passes has a higher chance, and this is of course very obvious, that GTA 6 will be announced.
Yeah.
But I do think because like Rockstar, there are some similarities to what they do. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 was also announced in October. And then was supposed to launch a year later, but then of course got delayed by a year. So, but still, it launched 2 years almost after the announcement. And we have like too many indications that Take-Two has a big year next year. And the only possible reason, or like the only thing that can make that happen, is GTA 6. So if it is indeed launching next year, then at least like teasing it this year makes sense.
Yeah.
And they do have their like earnings call on November 8th. So if they are going to announce this year, it's going to be before that.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it afterwards. That doesn't make sense. So I really think don't hold your breath. It's probably not going to happen. If it will happen, it will be early November. So just before that investor, because that would be for them like the best moment, because then their stock will skyrocket and then they can immediately on the call talk about it, give some more color. On the other hand, though, like when Red Dead Redemption 2 was announced, that was in 2016. Times have changed. Like the hype cycles for games have like significantly lessened. Like they're shorter. So it could totally like they can announce GTA 6 in June and launch it in September, and it won't matter. And they will have spent way less marketing dollars, and they will not have 10 million emails every day about the new trailer or new screenshot. That might actually be smarter to just hold it. And when you're like when you're like putting the finishing touches on the game, when it's about to get gold, bam, you announce it, launch in 2 weeks, or maybe not 2 weeks, like a month or two. I think that might be a smarter way actually to do it.
I think so too. Every studio seems to be moving that way, and also just let's be honest, it's Rockstar. They no doubt have seen the stuff of like, oh, GTA 6 announced on the 26th. If they've seen that, I would bet good money that they're like, okay, we'll do it on the 27th. Like they're going to do it just a little, or early November. I do agree. If it's going to come, it's probably going to come in early November, just because then they can ride into the conference call and just be like, yes, we are the kings of gaming. Bow to us. And they can be much more specific about their plans. But yeah, if it doesn't happen by November 7th, I'd say we probably aren't hearing anything until the end of the next quarter.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Which would be, I mean, like for Take-Two, there would be reasons to do it because what did they launch this year? Like NBA, which does fine every year. Like it does really well. But what else did they have? So maybe if they have like a very bad sort of year, and the moment they announce GTA 6, no one is going to care about that because they know next year you're going to rank in a ton of cash. So They could like even post a picture. We all know it's coming, but I do think people might get tired of having this announcement and then having to wait 8 months for a trailer. So I
Yeah.
don't that will only hurt them. It doesn't matter. So
Either way, the game's going to be insanely huge, and it's going to.
it's gonna
Next year's going to be
explode the
crazy.
internet.
I
Yeah.
feel bad. Maybe that's
And-
why Sony's been so quiet on some of their big stuff, because they're just like, let's just wait and then put it out as far away from GTA 6 as we can. Because a lot of publishers are going to be doing that. They're going to be looking for the month that GTA 6 launches, and then a full month bubble. They just want away from it because nobody's going to beat
it's gonna
GTA
be
6.
But what if it is like in because if it like picks that like October spot, like look at the amount of games that launched this month, that it's gonna like be like a middle finger to everyone else. And like one of those games is Assassin's Creed Red, and we actually got some new leaks about that.
Ooh,
But
good transition.
Yeah, and no, we might actually be reliving what we had with Odyssey as well, because that came out early October, and then Red Dead Redemption 2, of course, came out at the end of October. So like 3 weeks later, which did hurt them initially, but then eventually Odyssey picked up a lot of steam. And I think Red will still be fine, but it will be hurt in terms of like mainstream appeal if it launches after GTA 6 or in the proximity of that launch. And what just happened is that Pierre, I think if I pronounce it right, is like the award-winning writer for Assassin's Creed at Ubisoft Quebec. And he was like, I want to show the world what I'm working on. So he updated his LinkedIn profile with a banner for Assassin's Creed codename Red. And it was like up for a few days. Now he switched back to Valhalla though, because everyone picked this up.
He made us stupid. Oops.
Yeah, and you see it on screen if you're watching the video version. We're at the. Let's see if I can like see. I don't know if I can like see that, like at the timestamp. But otherwise, you can like look it up on Twitter and stuff like that as well. But it shows the female lead, so there will be 2 characters again. And yeah, it just shows like an internal artwork. I just don't know how this happens. How you're like so knees deep into this project. You know that the only trailer they have out did not show anything that Mirage just released, and you're like, let's show my colleagues or everyone else that I'm making this or so. I don't know how this happens.
I don't know how it happened either, especially just because he's like pretty high up. I mean, this is not like an intern. This is somebody pretty high up. But then again, like the other piece of this is that for these people, like this is their day in, day out, all day, every day. They're dealing with this and talking about it and messing with it, seeing pictures and videos and gameplay. So for them, they're very desensitized to it. It doesn't feel that remarkable or special, especially like a little piece of concept art to put it as the background on your LinkedIn. I can see how that would have just been like a quick, oh, whatever. Because honestly, when somebody sent this to me, I thought this had already been revealed. That's why I didn't really do anything with it. I was like, okay. Like, because I had seen like fan arts that were very similar to this, but apparently no, it was fresh, and it's really funny.
Yeah,
it's a big oopsie.
Yeah, and there should also be a male character, so that will be the more melee. So they're basically gonna do a syndicate again, where it seems that the female character is more like a stealth-focused shinobi, sort of ninja type character, and then the male variant will be a samurai. And seems like they will both exist in the world again, and that we can actually switch between them. And I think for an RPG, that will be very interesting if both have like completely separate skill trees. Because we also like kind of saw that with Spider-Man, but that is also where I feel that they could have done way more cool stuff. Right now, of course, in Spider-Man, you have like a skill tree for Miles, for Peter, and for both of them. But they still, at the end of the day, kind of feel samey, because their like abilities on the face buttons are very similar. Like the AoE attack, you have your charge attack, and they're both at like triangle or a circle. So if they like really go crazy in Red and make 2 of course they will have like their own set of their like similar set of skills, but what if like the female can like do some very cool stealth stuff, or I don't know, has like different build possibilities. For me, as like an RPG fan and one who really created a lot of builds, it could be interesting. And I think for Ubisoft, they're counting the money already. What if we can sell like item packs and then you have to buy them twice for the male and for the female. Yeah, exploding head. Yeah. So I mean, they're already thinking of that, but I think it's gonna be very interesting. And actually, after this, French YouTuber Jonathan posted also some info. I have it right here. I can like show it to you because I need your help a bit with the pronunciation. Oh wait, I'm gonna put it in the doc. That's easier.
I'm not sure how much of a help I'll be, but I will try.
Let's see. So this was like translated from French. He's a French YouTuber, and he of course knows his stuff. Like he leaked a lot of things that have been correct.
Okay.
Maybe we should not like talk about the story because he also kind of talks about the story. Although it will be probably when they announce the game, we will probably hear about it a bit.
It's probably one of those things where in the first 30 seconds of the game they reveal all this.
Yeah, probably. But I still get why people maybe would not know it, or would like to know it for themselves. So yeah, we have what the name will be of the character. Do you think you can pronounce that? Do you see it in front of you?
So the heroine should be called Naoi. Naoi.
Yeah.
Naoi. Naoi. Naoi.
But as Jonathan says, it could be changed because Jorah was the name for Eivor before they changed it. To Eivor, because I think also because of course Eivor has the same name for male and female Eivor. Jorah, I don't think would have made as much sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it could still change. It's still like very early. We know the game will probably be out next year though. So holiday 2024, probably, not close to GTA 6 as we already discussed. But yeah, the info is kind of dripping in. I do think because they already announced this that they might be like, why not reveal more info early next year instead of wait for the regular June window?
Yeah.
Because people are anticipating it anyways. And what they also saw, because that's another transition to kind of the Ubisoft investor call we just had, they really saw that with the launch of Mirage, or actually the anticipation of Mirage, people are going back into the back catalog, as they like to call it. They're going back to play the older games and buying them again. And so it's really beneficial to Ubisoft to always have something Assassin's Creed like coming up or in the mind of people. So yeah, maybe having that cinematic trailer for Red early next year will have people go back to finish some things in Odyssey they did not do, or maybe finish Valhalla because they got bored halfway through the game. So yeah, we will see. It's gonna be interesting, I think.
Yeah, I'm here for it. It's about time we got something big and crazy.
And then it will be the Ghost of Tsushima standoff.
Yeah, dude, if they launch even close to each other, that would be so funny. Oh my god, people are gonna lose their
I do think
minds.
we will have at least one trailer for Ghost 2 before Red comes out, but I think Red will be earlier.
I would guess so. Yeah, I get the feeling Ghost is probably more like mid to late 2025. That's at least
because they did the Iggy Island DLC as well in 2021, so 1 year, of course, with COVID and stuff. So, and they did the Legends multiplayer mode as well, and they're like a way smaller team. Like Red is being worked on by 1,000 developers across multiple Ubisoft studios, and Sucker Punch I think has like 300 people maybe working there, or even less, and of course outsourcing a bit, but it's like a way smaller team. So yeah, will be interesting. Want to talk about the other Ubisoft stuff that they kind of... I haven't listened to the investor call yet though, but they of course always like release a sort of presentation and like a press release, so you can, I think, show the sort of the lineup that they now have announced for before April 1st, 2024. So basically for their current financial year. There's one title missing, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, what they still plan to launch before April 1st, 2024 is Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. They confirmed it's still launching in December. We will see. It's kind of quiet, but we will see. Assassin's Creed Mirage, of course, already released. Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, November 16th, if I remember. There have been like previews of it out. Joyce, who works for my channel, has actually played the game at the studio and was pleasantly surprised by it. It really feels like a nostalgic trip because you play Ezio, and they did a great job at the kind of creating that world. Only, it's in VR, so it's for a very limited audience. But you can play Cassandra, and Connor as well. So that's gonna be interesting. Just Dance 24, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, the 2.5D side scroller action game, which I played actually at Gamescom, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. But as we discussed before on this podcast, $50 for that game. It's gonna be a tough sell, but they might do like a public demo or something, because I think that will help the game. But I'm still not sure if it will do well. It should be out in January. And yeah, we have Skull and Bones. I just forgot about it again. Like it's been like, wow.
It's funny. It's omnipresent, so you can never forget about it, but somehow it still manages to be forgettable.
Yeah. If they did not put it on this list, I would not have, like, maybe if I like thought about it for a second, but when I like looked at it at the list without Skull and Bones, I would be like, yeah, sure. Oh wait, Skull and Bones. But now it's planned for between January and March. So it was, I think, supposed to launch in November last year, right? Of course, as like they announced it, like they came back with like a comeback stuff, and then it was November, and now we're like more than a year later, which is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, they want to do that, and they also have like free to play Rainbow Six Mobile, The Division Resurgence, which the mobile game. They showed it also at the Apple event, and X Defiant that was supposed to launch this summer, then got pushed. That's like the Call of Duty sort of arena shooter that they have, but with the Ubisoft franchises. But yeah, they first, remember that we talked about that before. They had a large AAA game that they were planning to launch before April.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed that. They delayed that to their next financial year. So that was almost certainly Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
So yeah, we always thought that was too ambitious, and no, it's not coming before April. It's not a surprise, but yeah. I do think that also leaves room for Avatar to be delayed, by the way. But
it probably gives it a little wiggle room. But I mean, again, that's just because, in case people have forgotten, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Star Wars Outlaws are coming from the same studio. Different teams, but the same studio. So the idea that they were going to launch two AAA games within like 3 months of each other was just
what the heck,
crazy. So it makes sense that they are delaying it to give it a little bit of wiggle room. I don't know if that means that they push it to the winter. I don't think they probably want it to go head to head with AC Red. So they probably, and certainly not GTA 6. So maybe it ends up in spring of 25. That would suck. But
no, I think that then it will maybe be September or something. I mean, they could, if they were really, really like at one point serious about hitting March, then maybe it can be May, like Jedi Survivor, which of course also was delayed from March to May. I haven't listened to the investor call yet. Maybe they gave some more color on it, but like it could be like summer. I mean, we will see. But yeah, I think I agree. Like keeping that out of that holiday for like it's still Star Wars, but it's also kind of a new like type of game for them. So
I do think it's going to do well based on the stuff I've seen and some of the stuff and rumblings I've heard. It is a freakishly impressive game. It's just a matter of sticking the landing, and we shall see if they can manage it. But
yeah, and I know a lot of people like actually talked about how impressive the Spider-Man fast travel is, and I think Tom Henderson, who of course, like we talked about on the podcast before as well, like he has a lot of sources inside Ubisoft and other companies. He also said like what he heard about the Star Wars Outlaw fast travel system is very impressive as well. And we of course also saw that you can just enter your ship, go like off on a planet like without a loading screen and fly around and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's gonna be cool. But yeah, they have to pick a good spot for that. And I think a September release might actually be very beneficial if they can hit that. Or earlier would of course be cool, because if we like quick sideway or side step, like if we look at 2024 so far, I'm kind of scared for at least the first half of it, right? Because what is gonna happen? Only like February seems to be pretty crowded, but apart from that, I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll see if stuff wiggles around a bit, but I agree. There's a couple of big gaps, and maybe that's for good reason. Maybe, I mean, a lot of these industry people talk to each other and hear rumblings, and so maybe they're all trying to clear the way for something that's gonna be announced at the Game Awards and launch within a few months, but you never know. We will find out though.
I mean, Suicide Squad will still have maybe like a random character come out in May, so they might want to like give
Yeah.
that the spotlight.
And dude, I hope that game ends up surprising us. I really do.
Oh, really?
I would.
I would love for that game to be like they were all wrong, right?
Yeah,
But
I
just
would.
don't see
Yeah,
that
it's
happening.
Rocksteady. If you look at their past work, one of the best studios in the history of gaming. Like they've made some of the best games ever that are so beloved. But man, this is just such a bizarre shift in their approach. It's crazy.
Did you, by the way, I'm gonna like say this. Did you, by the way, see that they added the Robert Patterson batsuit to Batman Arkham Knight?
No, when did they do this?
Oh, it was actually like I think it first like went around on like Reddit and people were like, "Is this a mod?" No, it looks way better than what a mod can do. So it's like legit. And then they put it in a video. Like there was like an update for the game, so they put it in the game.
Oh my
And the
god.
Batman Arkham Videos Twitter account posted. Then like they posted like 3 hours ago that it's now available, and then they posted a like new tweet, and I can like share you the
Oh
tweet.
yeah, I've
Did
got
you see
the
it?
screenshots. Yeah.
And then they said, okay, the Batman skin has now been removed from Batman Arkham Knight on Epic Game Store. As shown in the video, it's clear it wasn't supposed to be released this early. At least we know it's coming. And then they say, probably together with the Batman Arkham trilogy for Switch on December 1st. But I tweeted, and I'm gonna make this prediction right now. Pre-order Suicide Squad to get the suit. Lock it in!
Oh,
Yeah!
I
We're gonna lock it in.
I would not be shocked at all if that's what it is. Yeah. They're like, how do we get people to buy this damn game? I don't know.
Let's give us suits for this
Other
2015
game they
we
love.
made.
That other game they really like. Let's give them something for that because they won't like this very much.
I tweeted this and all people like delete this tweet now.
Don't
Let's not
curse
give
us
them
with
ideas.
this. Yeah, for real. Oh, that's magnificent. That would be so funny if that's what they actually end up doing. Oh my god.
Oh my god. It makes so much sense to me.
What's sad
If
is
I
that
was in
it
it-
does make sense. Like it lines up really well, and it would not surprise me at all.
Sorry to talk about this.
No, that's so
nightmare
funny.
because-
That's so. I had
But-
no idea.
But it's funny, yeah, it is funny, and like we will have the Game Awards will be like they will like talk about it again, and it's gonna be fascinating to see how they're gonna try and turn this around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope it's like good as well. Like I would love to have a cool game to play. Although, when was the last time that we as like non-live service people, because that kind of happened with Destiny and The Division when those came out, that even if you were not really into those games, people would still give it a shot and play it for longer than normal. But I feel that has not happened anymore. You're either a player like that or not, and yeah, it's
Well, I
gonna be
just-
hard for
I think in terms of gameplay, especially, like if the gameplay is compelling, I'm in. Like to tell me that there's a live service Last of Us game with the like mechanics of The Last of Us Part 2, but with live service elements playing with other people and stuff, I'm in. Like, because the gameplay is compelling to me. Even though I don't love live service stuff, just the gameplay would be compelling. Everything they showed off here, though, for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League just looked so generic. It looked very 2012. It all just was really underwhelming. And maybe they can turn it around. Maybe what they're doing now is they're delaying everything so that they can come out with like a crazy, huge, revamped marketing campaign. But it does seem like it's Suicide Squad, the movie, all over again, where they set the tone in a certain way and people weren't responding to it. So now they're going to try to revamp the marketing and trailers to make it work better. But then we're going to get the game and it's not going to feel the same way as the trailers that they revamped.
To be fair though, your video has done really well actually on this. So it does show you that there are actually people that are curious, right? That are like, I want this to be good, because it's like 51K
Oh, yeah.
on your
Who knew?
which is great. So I mean, that is better than some games where just nobody cares. Like that is like the worst fate ever. You can better have like that at least people have like an opinion about it and talk about it, than where people are like, I'm not even gonna spend one moment of my time on this.
Yeah.
So I hope that, I mean, Okay, for one, I think this is like a kind of a fascinating discussion. Like, what do you think will happen? Let's try and predict what we think this year has done for them. I'm not sure. I haven't watched your video on it. I'm not sure if you touched on it there, but I'm curious.
Um. Oh man, it hurts my brain. The more, so the question is like, what is my prediction for how this actually ends up?
Yeah, what are they going to do? From what is their plan, and what will they show? Like, how are they going to turn this around, basically, or are they not?
I think we probably see a revamped marketing campaign. I think they are going to lean into as few like brainiac stuff or trailer elements as they can, because I think people are just not responding super well to that. I think they're going to lean much more into the cinematic stuff, into the story, and the gameplay will be kind of an afterthought in the marketing stuff. I don't think you're going to see much of the gameplay in trailers anymore. You're going to see them like really kind of hide away from describing exactly how the game works, because I think they're going to try to sell it on what they know sells, which is a Rocksteady narrative that's dark and gritty, and that's what they're going to put forward. And I think that that's the best way to do it. I think you're going to get a lot of people that buy the game and are like, oh wait, this is like an always online live service game. What are we doing? You know, I think that's going to be a common response, but I think their best chance now, because they can't just redesign the game, is to just start marketing it like they would market Arkham Knight, basically, and hope people don't notice that it is not Arkham Knight.
Okay, so you still think it's the same game? It's just the messaging that's gonna change.
Yeah, I don't think.
And what did they? Yeah.
In like 9 months or whatever the delay has been, like, what are they going to change? I don't know what they could possibly change. The core mechanics are all the same.
They could look like some of the feedback and like the purple weak spots and stuff like that. They could maybe tweak that, or that they give like every character a bit more of like a unique fighting style and stuff, because
but even that,
or that they like
all that's done in the prototype phase, and then they lock that in, and then they send it off to level designers and gameplay designers. Like, you can't just add new abilities or move sets entirely within 9 months of launch. Like, I just don't think that works. Like, I'm sure they're polishing.
Tweak down the impact of the weapon, the RPG elements, that it's like way more about skill now.
I don't
maybe
know.
Those are like wishful thinking, the things that I want them to change, and they will not actually be. I mean, it could also be that they're just doubling down on, because one of the things that, of course, live service games always struggle with is keeping players engaged. And they might be like, okay, this is not for everyone, but at least the people that will play this, because there was an audience for Avengers, like there was a hardcore audience for that. If they were able to hit the content release pace that they set out and they talked about before release, I think they could have made it work way better. So if maybe they used all the 9 months, because they were planning to launch in May, right? And then they delayed it. But when you launch a live service game, you already have, if you're like launching in May and you're in March, you already have the update, like the first update almost ready. That's kind of, so maybe they were like, okay, so we have all these updates now already like kind of in the back end. We launch the game, and then bam, in a few weeks, update 1, fight this hero, get this character. Update 2, 3 weeks after. So they're really going aggressive on the live service model, and hope that helps.
Yeah, just build that out. I mean, what they are saying on the FAQ is that they are planning 1 year, just 1 year of continued support from Rocksteady. That's all they say.
They changed that though, I think.
Did they change it? I think in the video we did, so whenever we did that video, it was 1 year. I mean, we'll see.
That's interesting. I mean, I think that's a smart way to talk about it. It's kind of scary though, because then you know when you're buying this skin that you will only be using it for a year.
They're giving themselves an out. Yeah.
But on the other hand, like for Call of Duty, which like kind of resets only this year, they're of course like keeping all the skins, which is like a feature. You get to keep what you bought. Whoa,
all that stuff you paid for it. We aren't taking it. Yeah. The almighty overlords. Wow. How generous.
Yeah, you created an issue and now you're selling the solution. Nice. But But I think that's like, again, if they have this 1 year already like planned out and can really hit on the dates and have something cool every month, that might actually work for them. So we will see.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, Steve. I think they're going to definitely lean into Kevin Conroy playing Batman. Yeah, I think they're going to start showing more Batman, more Superman. They're like, I think it's iffy on whether the Suicide Squad that they've put together can sell the game. And the tone is all over the place too as a result. And it's just the classic Suicide Squad problem. It happened with the movies. It seems to be happening with the game. And it's just going to be another crapshoot, I think, unfortunately. But I would love for them to surprise me. I would love to have another Rocksteady game that I could just obsess over. But let's be honest, is that likely to happen? Probably not.
And even if Suicide Squad, I think, will be successful, I do think they're going back to like a single player game.
Hopefully.
Even like if it's like because they just know.
Yeah. I would love to have been a fly on the wall and heard the conversations when they pitched this crazy Superman game and then they get told, nope, we want you to do a co-op Suicide Squad game. That'll be great. I would love to have been a fly on the wall during that, but let's see.
It's interesting, like with the live service as well, because there was like actual news about it this week as well, or like actually kind of rumors that also people inside the Sony studios are also not happy with their kind of push towards live service, because you go to work at a Naughty Dog or a Sucker Punch to make this amazing single player game, and then suddenly it's like, we all have to make a live service. So that some people are unhappy about that as well.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I totally get it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Okay, and lastly, let's touch on this because this just happened today, and then we'll wrap this up. Xbox is actually reorganizing its leadership with promotions for Sarah Bond and the one and only Mr. Matt Booty.
Matty Place.
Mr. Matt Booty Place. So this was very interesting. I mean, basically, as they describe it, excuse me, to manage the platform of today, quote, and build the platform of tomorrow, we are bringing together the teams that will make this possible, Phil Spencer said in a memo. Quote, Sarah Bond will lead this team as president of Xbox, bringing together devices, player and creator experiences, platform engineering, strategy, business planning, data and analytics, and business development. He also announced Matt Booty as the head of Xbox Game Studios, the president of game content and studios. This will incorporate overseeing the work of ZeniMax and Bethesda. Basically, it just seems like they're putting a couple of new people. Well, not new people. These people have been around forever. Matt Booty's been around forever. And the other person, Sarah Bond, she was actually kind of a huge deal in the Activision acquisition. She was the one that was like speaking with the judge to explain how their business worked and helped kind of a boomer understand it, which is super cool. So she is actually like pretty hardcore. She's a huge asset, and now she's being put in charge of pretty much all of this. And it's what's particularly exciting is that they are now merging and making the management of Xbox Studios much more flat on the first level. And then above it, they have a couple of head honchos that oversee everything. So that's where Matt Booty comes in. So he now is supervising not just like Fable, but he's also supervising Fallout 76. The Fallout franchise in general, Starfield in general, like Elder Scrolls, all of this stuff is now also under his purview, which has gotten a lot of people excited that this could be the move that allows for something like a Fallout New Vegas 2 to happen or something else. Because at this point, no joke, according to Bethesda Game Studios' timelines, we probably don't get another Fallout game until like 2032, roughly. We're a good ways off. So if this helps, and now they could be like, oh, Matt Booty is above Obsidian and Bethesda, he's going to make this happen where he's going to get the rights from BGS over to Obsidian and they can make this happen. This is how this works, and this is why some people are actually pretty excited at this. It's also, let's be honest, because they have not had as good a year as they were hoping. I think they were aiming for what, like 6% or something subscriber growth on Game Pass, and they only achieved like 0.9% for the year, which is not great, especially in a year when they've had like Starfield and Hi-Fi Rush and some other big games come out that were reviewed pretty well. Granted,
Forza,
they had Redfall. Redfall as well didn't help, but they are shaking it up to see if they can get something working. And
isn't this also because Pete Hines is gone?
Maybe. Pete Hines was just the head honcho of marketing at Bethesda Softworks. He wasn't, as far as I know,
everything Bethesda, right?
Yeah, Bethesda Softworks, the publishing.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So with him retiring, maybe they saw the opportunity to kind of shuffle things about, but it could have also been that this could have been the push that made Pete say, you know what, I want to retire. Because they could have told him, kind of like in that episode of The Office when Michael Scott gets Charles, Idris Elba actually, put above him and between David Wallace. And it's the middle manager that's supposed to supervise him and all of the other branches to help make sure everything is working smoothly. So the big head honcho guy only has to deal with big problems and visionary stuff. But Michael Scott feels invisible. He feels unappreciated because he's now going to be micromanaged by somebody else from another corporation. So he decides to quit. It could be the same thing.
We saw, and Dom Dom is like talking about that as well. Do you guys think that that's why Pete Hines might have left? I mean, we saw internal emails about how Pete Hines was like talking to his clan at Bethesda about Phil, and he was kind of angry, like, why can Activision games launch on every platform and we cannot put Starfield on PlayStation? Like, what is the logic here? And why didn't they talk about Todd Howard about this? Because he will have journos talking about it at GDC that will ask him about it. Like, he was kind of angry, and then he, of course, to Phil Spencer sent like a way nicer email with the same question. But yeah, I mean, Bethesda always had like full control. They were not even like a publicly traded company, so they always did it kind of their way. And maybe it was also like, okay, you're buying Bethesda mostly because of Starfield. I'm gonna be there till Starfield, and then just do what you want with it. I will sit on the pile of cash and goodbye.
Yeah, some people just don't like the big corporate stuff, and that's okay. I mean, corporations have their strengths and they also have their weaknesses. And if you have gotten used to being a big fish in a small pond, which Pete Hines was, and then all of a sudden you become a decent sized fish in an ocean, it's not that fun anymore.
You can't make the calls anymore. Yeah, that totally does suck a bit. But I think it's good for them, like, make it all together, because how Redfall could have happened, like, also that we saw emails from Phil Spencer last year that it was like, yeah, and we have this drought, but luckily we have Redfall coming, so it will all be good in the end. And, like, that's worth paraphrasing, but it's like, how can you not have played that game? And then when he's talking about Starfield, it's like, yeah, I'm already in my 6th playthrough, and I'm like, okay, if you spent like 10 hours of that playthrough on Redfall, you would have known.
Yeah. In the first hour, it was clear. Like, I made that I tried video, and I was like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh my God. But
what the
somehow
heck?
They didn't
weird.
see it. I actually, and then we can wrap this up, but I actually am really curious if Redfall was like scarring to Phil. Because like, I've had a video, like, it was probably back in like 2016. It was just a video where, like, I think I was talking about rumors of a new Nintendo console or something. You know, I was like 19 or 18 years old or something, making these stupid videos. And I made a video where I put it out and I didn't like cut out a section between takes. So I'm like, and there's rumors that Nintendo is going to be... Like, you just watch me for like a solid minute, kind of collect myself and then try the take again. And that scarred me so bad that now I make sure to watch every single video we upload all the way through, once, twice, 3 times through, just to make sure it's to my expectations and standards. And I wonder if Phil Spencer has the same thing happen now after Redfall, where he's like, it doesn't launch until I've played it. I don't trust any of you dumbasses. You guys put Redfall out. Is it still up? Probably not. I
I'm
have no
gonna
idea.
share. Do you watch? And then we're gonna wrap it up. But I want to ask you one more thing. Like, do you watch like Cal Bosman's show, like Delayed Input that he puts out? It's like a old game trailers guy who went to Easy Allies as well, and now is doing a weekly show.
No.
Not sure if you know it. He had like a video last week about Phil Spencer, and he's really talking about how Phil Spencer is kind of like just the guy that reads the comments, like the CEO that reads the comments, and how some weird things that are very specific that everyone already forgot, he still knows. So that they made like a comic joking about him 5 years ago, and then when he's on this public podcast talking about Activision, he brings that up as if everyone still remembers that, but he does. So there's like his brain works like in a very weird way.
It's a lot of CEOs are like that. A lot of these guys who are like corporate professionals, they're much. And it is a different way of going about it. It's very strange where they are like hyper fixated and focused on certain things, and then other things they're just kind of oblivious to. I saw that all the time when I worked in real estate, where like my old boss, who had done like $3 to $4 billion of real estate. I mean, this is probably the richest guy I've ever been in the same room with, and sweet as can be, one of the most genuinely kind people I've ever met. He still sends me like happy Thanksgiving, happy Halloween texts, how's the family? Like, he's a sweetheart. But he could like flip like that, like a switch, go from the sweetheart to a shark if you try to mess with him, and he'll pull stuff up from 1987, from when this guy screwed him over the last time. Like, a genius in a lot of ways, and terrifying, but also just a total sweetheart at the same time. Like, that's how you get to the top, is by being kind of crazy like that. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, lots of good stuff. It's been an interesting week. We're gonna have a lovely Halloween this weekend. What day of the week is Halloween? Oh, it's on a Tuesday. Weird. So we'll have a lovely Halloween early next week, and then we'll be back talking about games and hanging out. So
yeah, we might have some new stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, Lockie, do you want to say bye-bye to everybody? We're just wrapping up the podcast. Look at him. He's a firefighter.
Whoa.
Wow. You
Sick.
look great, dude. Say hi, Joe Raptor.
Hi, Dad.
Hi.
Hi, Joe Raptor. That's awesome.
Halloween starts early.
It starts
in House
early.
Luke.
Much love, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Was
Hugs
great.
and kisses.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.